Welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm Laura Blackmore, your host, and a franchise consultant with over a decade experience in franchising. Franchising isn't one size fits all, and this podcast helps focus on what truly matters. Each week, we pull back the curtain with top industry experts. Whether you're exploring your first franchise or expanding your portfolio, let's dive in. Today's guest is Ryan Sacco, Director of Franchise Development at Front Street Equity Partners. He's bringing Modern Purair, which is Canada's leading indoor air quality franchise, into the U.S. Modern Purair is built on technology, recurring contracts, and a proven sales engine. We'll unpack what makes this high-converting, tech-driven model tick, who thrives in it, and what smart candidates should ask about. So welcome, Ryan. So great to have you here.
Thank you, Laura. No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat all things Modern Purair and what makes this such an exciting opportunity for owners in the U.S.
Great. I'd love to get a little background about yourself and how you got connected with Modern Purair.
Yeah, so I'm a Denver, Colorado local, father of a 2-year-old boy. I've come from a franchising family. So my dad's been a consultant for over a decade. My sister's in development. I've been running home service businesses for the past 8 years or so in Denver, specifically in the junk removal space. So very similar model to Modern Purair, very simple calls, texts, trucks model. So real simple stuff there. A few things I like better about Modern Purair than what we're actually doing in junk removal. One of those being a higher ticket sale. The second being the systems that Lane, our founder, has put in place. Essentially an overlooked industry, but with a booming demand as we've seen from COVID and years past. So super excited. And yeah, like you said, modern is in the name because we are very much a technology company. Lane is the visionary that, it's an exciting time to be in service businesses with all the GPT formats that are releasing and all the AI that's coming about. It's a lot easier to get customers on the schedule these days.
That's fantastic. So when I was doing some reading, can you tell me a little bit more about the driveway Duct truck foundation or how that all started?
Yeah. It started in a drive. So Modern Purair very much started as chuck in a truck business with Lane and his dad. We always joke that Lane's been in the duct cleaning business since before he could drive. So it's super funny. And he begged his dad tooth and nail to hire a technician because that's what he needed. He knew he needed to scale.
Yeah.
That basically nearly drove a wedge between their relationship, and ultimately he did let him hire the technician. Flash forward, a lot of influence from this brand came from 1-800-GOT-JUNK. What they did to the junk removal industry, we're trying to do with the duct cleaning industry. So Lane knew that he needed a technician, hired that, and once that happened, that began to scale, and that led to down the road on the timeline where we incorporated the sales center, because Lane was on the truck doing the work, doing the technician work, which he could not stand. And it was just, trying to provide that customer service experience while still on the truck is very hard. And I know that firsthand running my own business. So sales center is one of our biggest value adds here. It's converting nearly 86% of all the calls that come in. And so that's not just setting appointments, that's converting jobs to paid jobs. So I know there's a lot of call centers out there and franchises that have call centers and they just want to get the trucks out there on the appointment. But we are actually, when we call it a sales center, that's what we mean. We're taking them the full sales cycle, speaking the language over the phone, giving them a ballpark estimate so they know what to expect when we arrive. So there's no surprises. And ultimately, that's led to our 10,000 plus Google reviews online. We just surpassed that a couple months ago. So super proud of that and just how we're operating as a whole. Brand wide, with an 86 net promoter score, just a testament to what those crews are doing out in the field.
I'm flabbergasted. 86% sales club. How is that even possible?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, really, it's kind of a cutthroat sales environment there at the call center. If the training is very thorough and if the employees that are answering the phone aren't converting, say they don't convert one call, they're going to have a training session. If they don't convert that next call, they're gone. So we really harp on conversions and really stressing those sales skills so that we can maximize the conversions. But Lane always jokes that the conversion rate's too high. We need to higher our prices as franchisees because that's the thing we have to leverage the most as business owners is being able to fluctuate that price and being able to see your competitors. We are very much more of a luxury brand. We joke and we say we want that client that shops at Starbucks, that gets their coffee from Starbucks, that values a brand name, because at the end of the day, do we do duct cleaning the best? I don't know, but I know for a fact we'd have the best customer service experience from the time that they call the sales center to the time that technician leaves the job. Every point of contact is the most professional that you can get. So that's what we pride ourselves on, that customer service experience. And yeah, the sales center is insane. So it was a huge value add and just something that changed the game. It led to Lane getting 20 franchises in Canada. So that was a big milestone. We have 25 units awarded in Canada with 18 franchisees, 0 in the US currently, but we just got an FDD filed as of 2 months ago. So super excited for the markets that we're going to uncover.
That's fantastic. And so you talked about duct cleaning. What other services do you
We do the dryer vent cleaning. We also do the indoor air quality testing. So the duct cleaning is the main service that we get out, and the education piece is a big part of this. As you know, I don't know if you've ever gotten your ducts cleaned or know anything about what's going on up in your vents, but the education piece is a huge part. Once that technician arrives, to educate them on their dryer vent and what might be a fire hazard, or even just changing the filters. We have hospital grade HEPA filters on board of our vans. They're quite expensive, but you can't just buy those at Home Depot. We get those from a distributor, and they scrub the air and make it that hospital grade. When you walk into a doctor's office or a healthcare facility and you notice that it smells the same every time, it's just that air is being scrubbed and filtered very thoroughly.
it that way?
Yeah.
And I've heard so many conflicting things about whether you're supposed to put the higher end ones or the other ones and change them out more regularly, and that's always confusing.
We
But yeah,
recommend about every 3 months. I personally don't have any pets in my home, but my in-laws have 3 dogs, and they're always fostering one. So typically always 4 dogs in the home. They've got a lot of hair and buildup that naturally gets into the vents. And
good
ultimately,
point.
this is the number one cause that you see HVAC systems fail. So the dust and debris that gets pushed down further into and that's back to the fragmented industry and mom and pop truck shops, which is our competition. I'll touch on that, but that's the number one reason HVAC units fail, and that's going to be a much more expensive issue, a $12,000 to $20,000 job to replace the unit versus a $500 to $1,000 duct cleaning, depending on the size of the home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have 2 dogs in here enlightening me, making me realize, yeah, that is how important. I actually have a good friend that had their dryer vent catch on fire in the middle of the night. So
Wow.
I get shared, you do not turn on your dryer before you go to bed. Yeah, because how dangerous it is. So I
It's
get it.
terrifying. And not only on the residential side, because the residential side's the easy stuff. Excuse me. The residential is the easy stuff that's going to be handled through the call center. That's the low hanging fruit. The commercial property regulations and why we stress high sales IQ owners is because those commercial properties that have in-unit dryer and washer units that's running 24 hours a day, that's higher risk. They are absolutely required to get that cleaned once a year. It's not a nice to have service. That's an essential service that they need to get cleaned in order to be insured by their insurance policy.
Okay.
So the insurance companies don't even want to insure them unless they know that they've had that cleaned, that's been inspected, because they know that's such a high probability of having a fire. So that's a number of cases. That's one of the verticals we target, but it is very much an essential service. It's typically neglected for years and years. Like you said, you're thinking about it now, but everyone needs it at some point in life, whether they buy a home that was built in the 50s or built in the 60s that has a lot of buildup or has musty old odors from the old owners. We can clean, seal, and deodorize all that.
Oh, wow. Very nice. So the owner, you mentioned you've got this incredible sales call center that's getting them in. What is the owner or the technicians? What are they doing in terms of
the ideal owner? They have 2 roles, really. Build a team of trusted technicians that first year, get a couple A players and build that culture around them. We are starting lean, so you're starting with 1 truck and 1 to 2 technicians, but finding those A players quickly and then doing the B2B sales outreach. We say we want sales experience, so some sort of sales experience. B2B sales experience helps a ton. We have sales scripts and role play interactions that we'll do over our training program in each specific vertical. But yes, that is, I hope that answers that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you think about or when you look at the overall investment that you're planning for in the US, what kind of range are we talking about for?
I mean, the range of investment, it starts as low as 206,000 up to about 368 for 1 territory and 1 truck.
Okay.
The big gap there is financing the truck versus purchasing it outright. I know some people are debt averse. They want to roll it into a loan, get it out of the way early, and then just start cash flowing immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Others want to just put the down payment, do more of a tax strategy, a depreciation schedule, that sort of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
that's $112,000 approximately, that gap in that investment level. So one unit, one truck, we're typically seeing at about 230 to 250,000.
Okay. So you've got the inbound call center. What marketing is typically driving those calls?
Yeah. So included in that investment is 6 months of ad spend, because we've seen it in the past where owners have a great month. They want to kick their feet up. They think they're high level entrepreneurs after that first month, which is great, but
Mm-hmm.
they want to cut marketing. And marketing is the lifeblood of the business. That's what's going to generate the revenue.
Yeah.
If sales on, the reoccurring contracts, that's the reoccurring revenue contracts that we're trying to build. The residential stuff's going to keep the lights on, help pay the bills. That's going to be the cash that's in your pocket the next day. But the
Right.
reoccurring contracts is what helps you scale to that third, fourth, and fifth truck. And
Okay.
ultimately, the race to a million is what this system's designed for. We're trying to get the owners to a million in revenue as quick as possible, which typically happens around 3 vans.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. And how do you get somebody onto a recurring, I guess, revenue?
Well, that's kind of where the sales IQ comes in. It's very tough. It's tough sometimes to get these gatekeepers to break down the walls, but showing
Mm-hmm.
up, we have a few different strategies we use that we've developed over the years and learned from franchisees in Canada that are more effective. We're
Okay.
also doing some cool things in beta testing with AI right now that's reaching out to decision makers on LinkedIn. So it's opening up conversations that we never thought possible. So
Right.
really exciting stuff. What's going to be happening in the next 6 months with the technology,
Yeah.
which could lead to more of those decision maker conversations. Say,
Yeah.
speak to 5 decision makers a day on that owner side, 25 a week, 100 a month. Typically, that gets you about 30 inspections, and then hopefully you win 3 to 4 contracts from that. But it's very much a numbers game. It's I wouldn't say knocking on doors, but very similar to it. It's that door knocking mentality. It's that, just going out there, networking, hustling, joining the BNI groups, mayor of your town mentality.
Gotcha. When you're targeting that million with 3 vans, what kind of mix would be the residential versus commercial?
Typically system wide, it's 50-50 split. I mean,
Oh, it is.
some owners are doing 67% commercial. Those are those more sales oriented individuals that have
Mm-hmm.
gone out there and won those contracts right out of the gate. So we're seeing that's probably the high end is about 67%, but 50% is average system wide.
That's
Yeah.
impressive. And the I guess adding on those vans, so each one is roughly 100 and some odd thousand. You're saying that the trucks?
Yes, 136,000 all in for the truck. That's all wrapped with all the equipment that's needed inside of the truck.
Okay.
And yeah, and each of those trucks should do about, that's our target, is about 300,000 in revenue per truck that
Okay.
you're putting on the road. So
Okay.
that's sort of the gold standard. That's what we're targeting. If we have an owner doing 250, that's still great on a van, but 250 to 300,000 is what we anticipate on each of those vans.
Yeah. And how will you compete against some of the competition here? I mean, there's
Yeah,
quite a few
totally.
franchises in this
Yeah.
space.
The 7 out of 10 of the competitors we see are typically mom and pop chucking the
Yeah.
trucks, fragmented industry that simply aren't going after this commercial work. So they're kind of focused just on their residential jobs that they've been servicing over the years. Maybe they're just a
Mhm.
small family business. They're happy running their $500,000 business, but this is designed for empire builders. The systems that we have around this, it's designed to get you to that second, third, fourth, fifth truck as quick as possible. With the sales center and $20 million of infrastructure behind us, that's what we're doing system wide in revenue. It's pretty good. And I think it's hard to find a franchise at this low of an investment that has 40 years of franchisor experience like Lane does. So he's a wealth of knowledge in the industry. I don't think that anything we're going to uncover in the US he hasn't dealt with already. So
Yeah.
it's quite an advantage.
What kind of business training do you think you plan for
Yeah.
owners? So sales as well as just overall business acumen.
Yeah. So we have a extensive 12-week launch training program.
Okay.
They're going to go through 12 weeks setting up the business. And we also have a grand opening project manager that's going to hold them accountable along this 12 weeks to make sure
Okay.
that they're checking each of these boxes, because we're working up to a pre-booked revenue goal of 25,000. So we're not letting anyone launch or let that truck hit the road until there's $25,000 on the schedule. Typically that's, anywhere from 15 to 20 jobs. That's what we're seeing. But a lot of that's going to come from the residential stuff once we launch that digital campaign out of the gate. And then the sales skills will take over, win a couple contracts, and they'll be there much quicker than it sounds. I know 25,000 sounds like a lot. In junk removal, it is, because the average ticket's about $200. But here, our average ticket on the commercial side's 500. Average on the residential's 500. Commercial's 2,500.
It is. Okay. And then those indoor air quality systems, what are those typically averaging?
The standalone units?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually have those scrubbing the air as we're doing a cleaning, if for any dust and debris that's floating around.
Okay.
But we sell those. We do sell those for about anywhere from $1,100 to $1,300 and make a healthy margin. So it's an incentive for the technicians as well to keep them around. When you get, typically you won't get a technician with very high sales skills, but when you do, it's an incentive that, hey, you sell a couple of these units, you're making X amount of dollars on each one of these jobs. And it's more of an incentive for them to educate and upsell that customer, because ultimately it's a bonus for them.
Okay, excellent. Territory size, do you plan for?
About 250,000 for territory and population. We're going to also look at how many property managers in the area, how many schools, how many hospitals, and how many restoration companies, because about half of our business from commercial comes from the restoration referrals. Because back to the insurance stuff, if you have a house that's getting a claim on water, mold, or fire, in order for that claim to be paid out, they need to make sure that ductwork's been inspected and cleaned. So that's also a way that we work. And typically those jobs aren't very price sensitive because they're insurance jobs, but we work with the restoration companies. We make them look good. They make us look good. So it's a power partner relationship.
Okay, great. So clearly some major experience with, and I love the technology play. I mean, that's even hard to quantify now, but it's just, how fast everything's moving in that space. I love the idea that you're using that to help on the business development side or the commercial side as well.
Say, in this business, we say that we're leaving our competition in the dust, and the technology, if we don't get ahead of it, that's Lane's vision, is he says we will literally be left in the dust. So it's very important to be ahead of this curve, and learning ChatGPT and all the different things. I mean, that's going to be the new Google nowadays, because
for sure
people want fast, people want quick, and it's only helping us as humans, do what we can do better and quicker.
Absolutely. So very cool how that helps franchisees in terms of, like you talked about, the ease of scheduling. So it's the follow-up process, the good systems. How do they find their technicians?
So we can do some headhunting through Indeed. Typically we'll source resumes from past HVAC technicians or people that have, just typically an ideal candidate is someone that stayed at a position for 2 years plus, that has a license, and we can piggyback off their HVAC license. But Indeed is a great use of that. We also have a third-party recruiter that's built into the investment level. If we have an owner that doesn't want to do the hiring, we have a third-party recruiter that will source the licensed technicians for us.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. So the technicians have to be licensed?
For the most part, yes, to clean ductwork in certain states. There's about 5 states that they need licensing to clean ductwork. Other 20, there's about 25 that do not need them. So there will be some problem states, but when I say problem states, it's a NADCA certification test. It's a National Air Duct Cleaning Association certification. And like I said, the owner won't need the HVAC certification, but that's why we try to piggyback them off of the technicians.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, interesting. So,
and also that licensing goes a long way when you're going to a commercial job and you show that you're licensed, show that you're educated. It opens a lot more doors for those reoccurring revenue contracts.
For sure. In terms of the partnering up with the other restoration companies, property managers, will you guys be doing stuff on a national level too that should help as you grow?
Eventually, yes. As we grow, definitely. We have a national account with Belfour Restoration in Canada. Nothing that's going to transfer over into the States, but that's why we're looking for those hungry empire builders that are going to unlock those contracts. Not only do that, but serve them well so that we can build a good reputation with them, and down the line with other states reintroduce the opportunity.
Right. In terms of, I just lost my train of thought there, but in terms of kind of the overall process that a candidate goes through to evaluate the franchise, What's that look like typically with you?
Our process is very thorough. We'll do an intro call typically to start. Second call, we're going to review the economics. We're going to go through the investment level, what our franchisees in Canada are doing. We'll look at all those P&Ls. Our item 19 is one of the most extensive out there. It's 25 pages long, so
Oh,
extremely
fantastic.
transparent. A lot of great information on that, and we'll be able to dive in, show you exactly what percentage of restoration, commercial, dryer vent, and residential work that we're doing over each of the locations. The next call, we're typically review that FDD. Then we'll look at territory. And like I said, we'll look at those restoration companies, how many schools, hospitals, and property managers in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the ultimate goal of confirmation day will be the last step. So
Yeah.
typically that's when the candidates are about 90% sure that it's a good fit for them and that we've approved them, and they've been on at least 2 leadership and 2 validation calls with Lane, the founder, and our validators in Canada. So not just to hear it from me, but to hear it from the people who are living it each day in the real world. But yeah, that's our process. And it's been great so far. We've gotten some great momentum, a lot of good candidates looking in Texas, Connecticut, Vegas, and Pennsylvania right now. So the momentum is definitely building, and we're really excited.
Do you need a certain size area? Will it work in more remote areas if there's
Rural
enough?
areas, I mean, if it's close enough to a major metro city, is what we're
Okay,
looking
you do
for
need. Okay.
in the early days. So,
Yep.
but 250,000 population is, I mean, our top location's doing 4 million in gross revenue in a population of 300,000. So,
Okay.
very small town of Kelowna,
Right.
British Columbia. It
Yeah.
has got a $4 million business with 11 trucks. So, pretty impressive. And it's only getting us more excited for the density in the US and what we're going to uncover.
Yeah. 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 No, that's fantastic. What's a question that you would hope all potential franchisees would ask you as they're going through the process?
That's a good one. A good question that a candidate would ask us going through the process. Really, I want them to just pick Lane's brain. I want them to really understand, not just how quickly can I break even, how quickly can I cash flow, but really understand like the long term of this. Like, I want them to see the vision of them having 5 trucks down the road in 3 years, like
Yeah.
reinvesting in the business. So, questions that they would ask on the item 19 is like, I want them to look at some of our performers who are doing lower margins on the item 19 and ask why. And then so
Yeah.
I can elaborate and show them that these owners are reinvesting in the model. They understand, they trust the model. They're going to get the expenses out of the way, pay off their trucks so that their trucks are cash flowing them for years to come. We're looking very much for those empire builders, not just
Okay.
looking for someone who's trying to cash or make $1 million in year one, because that's not going to happen. The first year in business, build a team, build the foundation, and then year 2 and 3 is really when you're going to fly. But and when I harp on these sales skills and B2B sales, we're not telling you to come in and do sales for 3 to 5 years. That's crazy, right? But
Mhm.
lock in, do full time for 12 to 18 months, build the foundation in your business,
Okay.
give it your all so that when you do get to $1 million in revenue, then you can hire a general manager, then you can hire a business development manager, and then you can sort of exit the business or do less of what you don't want to do
Right.
without interfering with those margins. So that's a big piece of it. I mean, we could tell you hire a sales manager right out of the gate,
Right.
hire a general manager right out of the gate, but they're not going to treat it like it's your business. So
Right.
we're really passionate about that. We want owners who believe in the model, who are going to scale it themselves and be the chief revenue officer of their business.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate you sharing that. And it was a
Yeah.
great way of looking at it too, with the not needing that high margin right away. That the reason
Yeah.
is because they're reinvesting. Yeah. Anything else you want to share about the?
No, I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, our average unit's doing about 1.2 million. So everyone's about 4.4 trucks in each
Yeah.
location. So we're really proud of that. I mean, this is a very scalable model. It's designed to help cash flow after 90 days. So that's why we're harping and stressing so much on these sales, because we
Yeah.
know that they can win. Those with the good experience and those candidates that we find, other similar home service brands like Brothers Who Do Gutters or Everline, and these types of brands are the types of candidates that we're looking for.
Perfect. Do you anticipate? I know you want them in full time, but do you anticipate people that already have, whether it's a property management business or restoration business, want to add this on, or an HVAC business want to add this on?
Yeah, I mean, we're reaching out to other owners that own other O2E brands, other restoration HVAC companies to see if they want to expand their portfolio, because it is very much a good bolt-on service if they already have the HVAC knowledge, because
Mm-hmm.
typically these HVAC jobs, they don't want to spend their time doing the duct cleaning because number one, it's less margin for them. It takes a
Yep.
lot of time for their labor. And I know firsthand when you start wearing multiple hats in business, that's when you get your biggest calls for the job that you mainly do. It's better to just stay in your lane and do the few
Yeah.
services that you're good at. And that's what we do best here, to help, avoid having too much equipment on the truck that's not getting used, avoid having the guys on jobs where we're not really making the most money that we can be in the company. So little things like that.
That's a great perspective. No, I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
No, this is fantastic, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see where you guys take it in the next year or two. I'm sure it's going to grow fast and looking forward to
Thank
working
you.
with you.
Thank you. I'm so happy. Thanks for taking the time and having me on the show. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It was great to chat and get to know you a little bit better.
Sounds
Thanks, Laura.
great. Thanks again.
Take care.
That's a wrap for this episode of Franchise Focus. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and inspiring. If you're thinking about franchise ownership or want to learn more about the brands we discuss, connect with me on LinkedIn or visit my website at blackmorefranchiseconsulting.com or just leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share it with someone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Franchise Focus.